back to Ringside Ramble. It's me, Noel, bringing you all the latest news, views, and breakdowns from around the world of professional boxing. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the return and the overall bizarre career of Anthony Yarde. Following his return last Saturday on the Adam Azim undercard against O'Hara Davis, and what may be next for Yarde following his comeback, and pretty much what could have been for him if it wasn't for the absolutely bizarre mismanagement of his career. As I say, Anthony Yarde making his return to the ring last Saturday night on the other undercard of Adam Azim versus O'Hara Davis in the Copper Box Arena in London, and he defeated Ralph Vilkans, the Latvian fighter, over a very underwhelming performance, a very laboured decision win. Of course, he dropped him in the first 15 seconds of the fight, and it looked like it could be an early night for Yarde on his return, but no, he just laboured and it looked ponderous on his way to winning the decision against Vilkans after his return. And of course, it was his first fight under the Boxer promotional stable. He's with Boxer now and Ben Shalom, so it's another interesting move in a bizarrely fascinating career of Anthony Yarde. So let's see if he can get big fights now. We're going to talk about a likely big fight for him next. That could be next after the win at the weekend. But yeah, he's with Boxer and he's got a win. He's got back in the win column. And yeah, onwards and upwards, hopefully. We've been saying this a long time about Anthony Yarde, but it has to be the most bizarre management of a career that I've ever seen, to be honest. One of the most bizarre managements of a career I've ever seen. He turned pro, of course. We heard that he was, he had no amateur experience whatsoever, which is fair enough. So, I don't blame his stable for taking it slow there in matchmaking, but he fights a catalogue of these Eastern European, more often than not, super middleweights, not even light heavyweights. From Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia. People he's bowling over looks $1 million in doing so. Then you expect him to test himself at even domestic level on the British scene, against fellow kind of British fighters, fellow UK fighters, and see what kind of level he's at, even with no amateur experience. But no, he doesn't go to domestic level. He doesn't go to European level. He jumps straight into world level after a string of grossly overmatched opponents, and he faces Sergey Kovalev, the extremely dangerous Sergey Kovalev, for the world title, with no test in the waters against anyone, as I say, even at domestic level, never mind at European or fringe world level. He jumps in to face Kovalev, and it raised eyebrows at the time, and he, say what you want about his trainer, his manager, Tunde J. He can talk. He can talk for any man. He's controversial enough in what he says, but he backed his man to get in with Kovalev. Out of nowhere, a world title shot that came out of nowhere. And in a way, I respect it, but I think it's negligence in a way as well when you throw somebody who clearly wasn't ready, who clearly hadn't faced the opposition required to prepare himself for someone like Sergey Kovalev, to throw him straight in with Kovalev, even though it was past his best version of Sergey Kovalev. He acquitted himself relatively well, and he hurt Kovalev to the body, of course. There was the occasion where he briefly seemed to hurt Kovalev, but in the end he ended up getting quite badly stopped in that one, no surprise. There's levels to this game for a reason, to this sport for a reason, and Anthony Yarde hadn't reached anywhere even below a level or two below Kovalev before he took on that test. So it was a real shame. I always think what could have been for Yarde. I know he had a lack of amateur experience. A lot of fighters do, but that doesn't mean they couldn't have brought him in at domestic level. Test himself at domestic level first, go for area titles, go for English titles, British titles, and so on. Just go up the ladder before you jump straight into a world title fight when you're clearly not ready for it. Yard had a lot of potential, and I say had because I think they missed an opportunity with Anthony Yard with how they've managed him. Even though he has a lack of amateur experience, I think he has a lot of positive attributes. He's fast, he's explosive, good jab, and he punches extremely hard. He's a huge puncher. So if they had managed that and nurtured those attributes in the right way, Anthony Yard could have given Kovalev more of a test, maybe even beaten that version of Sergey Kovalev, who knows. But no, they just threw him in when he clearly wasn't ready, bring him back down to domestic level, and he loses. He loses to Lyndon Arthur in a dreadfully underwhelming performance from Anthony Yard. You know, I got an air of they thought they were kind of above that level in that performance. He thought he just had to turn up and beat Lyndon Arthur, but Lyndon Arthur proved that wasn't the case. So he needed two bites at the cherry to get past Lyndon Arthur. He beat him in the rematch, of course, but you can kind of criticise Lyndon Arthur's performance in that one as well. He was quite underwhelming that night too in the rematch, but yeah, you thought that was kind of, that was stepping stones to kind of rebuild in the proper way when he faced Arthur twice, but no, more underwhelming opponents that are a step below Lyndon Arthur from Europe, dreadfully underwhelming European opponents, and then he jumps straight in, as we know, again with Arthur Beterbiev, which is just crazy. Like there's no step up to European level after that, or free world level. It's the most dangerous, one of the most dangerous fighters in the history of boxing for world titles, Arthur Beterbiev, and he gave a great account of himself. He really did, but in the end, he took a bad beating and got stopped. He was actually up on the cards in that one, which proved that he is a talented fighter. But yeah, he got stopped in that one. Of course, he did. There's no shame in that, but again, if they had managed him properly, if they had given him that experience against kind of European level operators, world kind of level fighters, who knows how differently he could have turned out, how differently he could have managed to fight against Kovalev or Beterbiev. So it's such a shame, and it's weird, and I'd love to know what has gone on behind the scenes in regards to the matchmaking of Anthony Yard. What is the thought process of managers and promoters that they're giving him this level of opposition and then making such a drastic step up to world title level when they're clearly not ready, So now he's with Boxer, we hope again this is another new start for Yard. He's in his mid-30s now, near his mid-30s now though, so time is running out, he's not a young man anymore. This is the thing. He has to get it right this time. If he'd have one more crack at a world title, build him properly towards it. Test them at domestic level in fights we're going to talk about now, test them at domestic level and then bring them to European level and then them to world level if he gets past those. So domestic level, you have Louis Edmondson, who won the title, British title, last weekend against Dan Aziz. Either Dan Aziz or Louis Edmondson will be great next steps for Anthony Yard. A good win for Edmondson, but I think Yard could beat Edmondson. I'm not a huge fan. I don't think he's great. I think it was a poor Dan Aziz performance at the weekend, following on from a draw from Aziz against Hirobi Sepp, and has come back from losing to BUATSI. But I think Yard could beat Louis Edmondson for the British title. I do. I think Edmondson is too negative in his style. I think Yard could drown him. Yard could be too aggressive for him and too heavy-handed and beat him. He could for Dan Aziz. No, I think Dan Aziz's career is as good as done, to be honest with you. So I don't see any value in fighting with Dan Aziz. And the big talk is a huge domestic fight with Joshua Buatsi. It's an in-house fight now. Both men are with Boxer. Ben Shalom wants to get it done, he can get it done. But I think Joshua Buatsi now proved that he's above Anthony Yard and he's above British level. I really do. I think, people have always touted this fight as a real 50-50 and an even fight and a pick-em fight. I don't see how Anthony Yard could beat Joshua Buatsi, and I don't see how people can think Anthony Yard can beat Joshua Buatsi. I really don't. I've never understood the narrative that Yarde could win. I think what does Yarde do better than BUATSI apart from power, apart from punching power? He has positive attributes, but everything he does well, apart from power, BUATSI does better. He really does. You know, I know BUATSI has had his detractors in terms of how slow he's moved through the ranks, how slow it took him to move through the ranks after his pro debut. Of course, turned pro with a lot of heat behind him. Looked like he was a world beater, to be honest, and then kind of killed off in the end. But he's proven now in the last few fights that he's a level above Anthony Yarde, and he's proven against a better caliber of opposition than Anthony Yarde has faced. You know, he beat Dan Aziz this year, as I mentioned. You know, he's beat the likes of Craig Richards, he's beat Willie Hutchinson. These are top domestic level wins, and he's beat Daniel Blender dos Santos, who's currently the European light heavyweight champion. You know, was unbeaten at the time. So that these are much better wins than what Anthony Yarde has. You know, Anthony Yarde's second best win of his career is probably Ralph's Philcans. As crazy as it is to say last Saturday, it's mental. It really is. But BUATSI has proven consistently against a better level of opposition that he's more proven than Yarde is. And in terms of fighting styles, he's just too well rounded for Yarde. He's too well skilled across his amateur background. I know people have negatives to say about him, about he's a bit passive in fights. He could go through the gears a bit more, but I think he has those gears to go through if needed. He's just way too versatile for Anthony Yarde. I don't see how it's a 50-50 fight. I'd favour Joshua BUATSI heavily in that one against Anthony Yarde. There's levels to it, and BUATSI is a level or two above Anthony Yarde in my opinion. As I mentioned, they wasted the potential of Anthony Yarde. If they had built him properly, they could have built him to a really, really capable world level fighter. But they've just fumbled it, thrown him into chances he's not ready for, not stepping him up the appropriate levels, the British level, European level, etc., etc., as I mentioned. So they have one more chance now to get this right with Anthony Yarde. Hopefully Ben Shalom can build him properly. If it is the BUATSI fight, so be it. But I think BUATSI is above that now. I think Yarde should be looking at Louis Edmondson for the British title next. Absolutely. And yeah, I think they need to build him properly. If he gets through Edmondson, put him in with the Daniel Blender dos Santos Shakan Peters winner if that fight happens. And then we can look at one more chance at a world title. But they need to get it right this time, because if they don't, it's game over for Yarde, and it's a case of what could have been. So yeah, that's just my quick kind of thoughts and discussion on the return of Anthony Yarde last Saturday night, defeating Rouse Philcans in London at the Copper Box. You know, the bizarre mismanagement of a career that has been Anthony Yarde's career, and what could be next for Yarde. How will they build him up now properly after this? So yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Get involved. Am I being too harsh on Yarde? What do you think of how his career has went so far, and can he beat the likes of a Joshua BUATSI? You know, is that fight a lot closer than I'm making it out to be? And can he win European and maybe even world titles before he calls it a day? Let us know what you think in the comments, and as always, please don't forget to subscribe to the video. Give this video a like. Really appreciate all the help. Cost nothing to give us a subscribe and a like, and follow us over on X. Always great content there to engage with and get involved with. So yeah, until next time, speak again and take care.